For parents who didn't know the school to see the school, and we're talking about, maybe combining the classes into like classes and units and combining the schools. Some people seem to get nervous that they had never been in the other schools. So that was really the purpose of doing the tour, and then it generated a lot of questions. Well, what if we have questions, and when do we get to ask them? And we had some question and answer sessions, and so we incorporated that in here too, but it's meant to be fluid. So if your preference is to see the school first, and then maybe you'll have some questions and ask us. We have school committee members here to answer the questions on what, I don't know if you want to call it a merger or elementary regionalization, I don't know what term you want to use, but there'll be people here to answer those questions. Both principals from JFK and AFM are here to give you a tour of the schools. You've been in this school before, yes? Have you been in the school before?
Nope.
Okay. So do you want to start with a tour? Do you want to start with questions?
I don't need a tour.
She doesn't need to, so we can do the questions, so
Okay.
she can
All
leave.
right.
No sense in making her wait even longer.
No, if other people come in, I mean, again, it's intended to be fluid, and so, but when you first heard of this, what questions did you have, or what concerns did you have?
So you have older kids, it sounds like.
Yeah, I don't have a stake in this personally. I honestly just came to hear what people's opinion were and honestly to support it. It's just my.
I do. I have 3 boys in the school, and one is going into 3rd grade, and then I have twins that are in kindergarten. So it would be a change for me.
Yep. So mine are 5 and 2.
Oh,
So this will be the first time my son's coming to the schools. So I
Are
don't
you
know much
Blackstone?
about either school. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I live very close to here in
Oh.
Blackstone. And so, part of my questions were even just to understand, other than the size, the amount of students and teachers and so on, are there other differences between the schools? Are there other
Well, I think
curriculums
size
or specials, or is there other things that are different that are also going to benefit from a proposal like this?
Right.
We definitely try to keep specials equal between the 2 elementary buildings. 3 elementary buildings. There are some programs that are here in Blackstone that are not in Millville. Blackstone qualifies for Title I money, and Millville does not. If the schools were combined, then all the kids would benefit from that. Currently, we're using the Title I money for reading. To me, that's a huge benefit, but I'm a Millville resident, so other.
A lot of the benefits really stem. Yes, it's the size of both schools, but it's also collaboration between teachers. It's also supplies between teachers, and just being able to collaborate, because we found when we did the survey that when they get to sixth grade, which is the middle school, there is a little bit of a difference. So just trying to make that as equitable as possible and flexible, so that there would be, when they get to 6th grade, there wouldn't be that much of a gap, or if any, is really the purpose, is to make it as flexible, seamless as possible, right? And then having the configuration of pre-K, K1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5 in specials and standards. 3, 4, 5 pretty much go together. In pre-K, K1, 2, they kind of flow together, and that would be beneficial if you were to have, a first grader that needs support, that needs more support. They can work with kindergarten. 3rd grade could work with 2nd grade. 2nd grade could go to 3rd grade. So the flexible grouping would be a benefit to the configuration. So I think we try to look at all aspects, not just size, but how would this benefit, the kids, the staff, parents. I mean, just in general, that's really the main focus.
And so certainly, you have someone coming to kindergarten in the fall?
Yep.
Yeah, so certainly, it's not intended to start next fall, but let's say it was. Certainly the grouping would get larger. In other words, there'd be more kindergartners, but the school that person would be in, son or daughter? son would be in, would be pre-K, kindergarten, first, and so it would be a kind of a smaller community, a more like community, and it would allow the teachers across that grade level to really collaborate and allow for students to really be in amongst their peers, you know, across the entire district, so that when they do go to the middle school and are both grouped together, it is really a seamless transition, and the curriculum is the same, and the teachers have collaborated throughout, and so they really know who all of the children are in the district and can bring that forward. So that was the idea that came across in the meetings. You know, some of the feedback that we've gotten since then is, you know, that it takes away the community, that it spreads that community even larger, and I think that potentially it does do that, but maybe hopefully the benefits outweigh.
I think it's going to bring, like you were saying, the age of the kids closer together.
Right.
That community is going to be closer, a bigger community, but closer knit.
Right.
The kids know each other from sports, and they play together already, but
And some do,
gives them
that's a
more-
limited, you know, that's a
Yeah.
limited number, so.
In terms of programmatic planning, I can add that when you're working to develop it, will become more like an early childhood center, pre-K, K1, and so there could be a better comprehensive planning amongst not only the staff, but all the support staff, the adjustment counselors, the specialists with the communication, because right now if we want to do something like that, the staff are spread between two buildings, it's very difficult to communicate and do not only curricular planning, but there's all sorts of, there's a drive now from Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to focus more on social emotional skills and play development. That's coming down the pike. And if you had the whole center together, you could actually plan a better program for the children overall.
So the people would still be separated though. I mean, there'd still be two schools.
Yes.
Teacher would still be spending their time at their own school.
Well,
So what's the plan for?
well, there would still be, well, technically the three schools, JFK, AFM, and Millville, there would still be
Yeah.
three.
Sorry, yeah.
But there would be, all the kindergartners would be in one school. So whether you're a kindergartner from Millville or
Oh,
a
okay.
kindergartner from
I
Blackstone.
didn't realize that.
You'll
Okay.
be,
Yeah.
you would be in one
That's what the
school.
change.
Okay.
And if you were a first grader from Millville and Blackstone, you would be in one school.
Okay.
Originally, the plan developed, had the pre-K and kindergarten here, no, I don't know which one are we in.
It wasn't definite.
Where are we?
Well, we're in AFM.
We're in
right?
AFM. So first and second here, pre-K and K in JFK, and 3, 4, and 5 in Millville. So
Yep.
by the time your child was in third grade, they would be going to Millville with all of the third grade from
Okay.
all of
That
them.
makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But the two schools here are connected,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I obviously, I still consider it one here and one in
Yeah.
Millville.
Yeah.
We all-
Me too. And I have no stake in this either.
But the hope was is to put all the kids in kindergarten together. So sometimes in Millville, there's just one kindergarten class based on population. Sometimes there's two.
Yeah.
So if you have one, it's really difficult for that teacher to plan accordingly
Right.
to the 5 kindergartners that are here.
Right.
And also, when you're a child in a room of 25 kids, if there's a situation that one class follows you, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, and then here, just the planning of everything. So keeping all the kindergartners in one area, all the first grade in one area, all the second grade, it just makes it more cohesive, all around.
What are, you mentioned a couple things. What else are you guys hearing? So it sounds like there's
Well, that's why we put
Pretty
this
much this
together,
list is what we've,
these are the most common questions?
Yeah.
just to get them out there and, give the answers that we do have at this point. We haven't heard a lot of feedback, negative feedback in regards to how it benefits the kids or why it wouldn't benefit the kids. Most of the negative feedback is building-based or town-based. But, what we focused on, which was curriculum-based and kid-based, it's really not where the questions are. Transportation has been.
So it's the issue of convenience of where that location is to where
Yeah,
the.
convenience and I think for a very long time, Millville has been a very small hometown feeling of a school. And so when you think my student is one of 20 and then they'll be one of 100, it's a different feeling.
But that happens in the middle school.
It happens, exactly.
It does happen.
Yeah.
And, you know, there are benefits of having 5 different first grade teachers versus just one. You got one. If that's not a good connection, you got one. And so you got, if you had 5 or you had 6, you have an opportunity that, you know, you don't get to pick and choose, but if it's not a good fit, if it's not, there are options.
Yeah. Are you holding these at Millville as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you already hold it?
No. Millville, May 2nd. And at the
Town
senior
meetings.
center in Millville, we'll have just a question and answer, of course, not a tour, on April 21st, and then at the Blackstone Library, April 21st as well.
Yeah, so these are meant, today and May 2nd are meant to be, you know,
See the
come see
school.
the building, come, you know, where potentially your children could be. We were definitely hoping for Millville parents that
Right.
were willing to be open to the idea, to come see the space and, you know, compare it to what they already know. And the same thing for Millville, for May 2nd, we want you to come to that
See.
building too. And, you know, and see the differences, see the things that are safe. Playground is a big part of it. I'm sure you've seen this playground just driving by. Millville has no playground. But I think that was part of the decision of putting the little kids.
3, 4,
that
5,
was
yeah.
part of it. So, but I think it would be a good
And the other,
opportunity.
you know, the other
to-
thing is we understand that it was difficult for people with the snow day and the change of the meeting time and kind of a last minute meeting. And certainly, I would say that the principals have been wonderful through this process, that they would give tours at other times if somebody
Oh, for
came in
sure.
and had questions.
Sorry, just because I don't know, who are the principals?
Wow.
Which one?
Mrs. Desai, Varsha Desai, I'm at the JFK, which is K12 at this time.
And I'm Carol Brown, I'm at the Maloney side, and we're grades 3 through 5.
And Millville, it's Dr. Paul Hockey,
And that's kindergarten, pre-K all the way to grade 5.
pre-K through 5.
So we should maybe start another tour,
Mhm.
and if anyone else comes in, we'll do a second round.
We'll do more questions, yeah. So, do
Are
you want it? Would
Are you
like to-
interested in seeing the building?
Yeah, I
honestly
would like to.
came-
Yeah, definitely.
I honestly came tonight because I wanted to hear somebody else's side. I mean, I have heard lots of people say, I don't support this, but nobody has ever given one reason
Wow.
why.
Yeah.
And I was hoping to hear that tonight, because before I make a decision, I want to, you know, hear
Weigh
both sides and where was.
absolutely.
But I have not heard one person speak as to why they don't approve it, and I was kind of hoping that would be here too. Maybe I'll go to Millville and see it on the
There you go.
second.
April 21st, I mean, we kind of
It's
open that
basically
as
vacation
more
week, we
of,
have plans,
yeah,
yeah,
more of a question and answer,
yeah.
where we'll
Right.
be sitting down with.
I think, from the feedback that I've gotten, a lot of the same feedback you have. In other words, I'm against it, but
We won't say why.
I won't say why until I'm on the floor of the town meeting.
Right.
But I think some of it is fear of the unknown. Some of it is comfort of what I do know. And I think, you know, some of it is, I like what I've had. You know, it was good enough for me. It's good enough for my children. It's, you know, it's,
But see, and I feel like if it's good enough for our little kids in preschool to be together, and it's good enough for them to be together in middle school and high school, why isn't it good enough for these 3 communities, 3 schools, to have it in the middle? And there's actually an answer for that. It is good, it is. And, you know, like I said, the negative feedback that comes out is all about the building or all about, and we put a lot of those on here. You know, people are worried about losing identity for their building, and school committee does not have jurisdiction over changing the school name. So these two buildings are owned by their towns. We lease them. So that is not something we would even be talking about or looking into on our end. These two buildings are named after, well, AFM-Maloney is named after a Blackstone, you know, it's history. And that's not what we're trying to take away. You know, we're trying to move forward as a district, and this just makes sense.
And I have to tell you that a lot of the study groups that we had, they involved administrators, they involved parents, they involved taxpayers. We had a selectman on the board. I mean, it wasn't just a decision that was made by the school committee. There were so many meetings, and we broke up into, you know, how many did I have? Did we have 35? I think we had 35 that were split up into 4 different groups that did the work. So a lot of the staffing in the building, we sat together and we came up with pros and cons of the configuration and what would work. And this is from a teacher standpoint, from a parent standpoint, from an administrator. I mean, everybody's view and lens was in those workshops. So just as a side note, it wasn't something that the school committee said, this is what we're doing and this is how we're doing it. It was a 2-year process. For some of us, it was 4 years of just, you know, finding the information, finding the research, and then pulling the groups together to come up with a plan. We were lucky for the transportation to get the transportation software. So, you know, some of the groups that had met, you know, originally we had thought that these groups, you know, would be able to get work done, but some of it, you know, if you get a program that's going to wrap it all in, you know, you could spend the whole time with a map and the streets, but I mean, we paid a lot of money for that program, so let's use the program. So some of the information and some of the subgroups that we made, they didn't really have that much work to do because, you know, there were other outlets in order to do it. But the biggest one was building and staffing, and where are we going to put, where are the kids going to go, why are they going to go there? And like I said, it was made up of, you know, we had 35 people join those committees. And yeah, they did get smaller. I mean, the groups got smaller as time went on, but, you know, we did have people that came to those meetings and sat and had that dialogue. So, I mean, I think that's huge to understand that it's not coming from school committee, it's coming from a large group of community members.
Well, and one thing that also came out of those meetings was this can't, you know, this discussion has been going on for several years, but it also is not an overnight transition.
Mm-hmm.
That if it passes through the towns, that it's not to start in September, and then how do we, you know, then you have this 2 months of summertime panic. It's to have this year of, you know, planning and what needs to change in the facilities and what needs to, you know, who needs to move and how that needs to move, and really, you know, transition to ease, I think, some of those anxieties that are out there. I will tell you that another topic that came up from some of the Millville parents is, why would I want my child to go from a level 1 school to a level 2 school? But I happen to firmly believe, especially with the transition in testing, and you know, there are some Millville students here now, there are some Blackstone students in Millville now. I think the more that teachers get to work together and collaborate, I think you'll see an upward improvement of all schools, and not, I don't think, a pulling down. I think that's some people's fears, but I think you would see a positive result of that.
What are the teachers' reactions?
I think it depends on the school in which they were in, to be honest with you. Some were for and some weren't.
I don't think we have a true picture of that.
I don't think-
though,
no,
either.
I don't think we
don't know
do
if we
too.
can
Some are
answer
afraid
that
of
question.
being moved out of their classroom they've
Yeah.
been in for 20 years.
Right, then that's tough, that's
Yeah.
But
tough.
then they do want to work together, so.
Yeah.
Are there any times or occasions where they do interact or work together today, or no?
Professional development. Is there any other times
There are
that?
some times that we combine staff meetings, but the reality is that there is nowhere near enough time for teachers at the grade levels from Blackstone and Millville to come together and plan and talk about their craft, talk about teaching, talk about learning. So those conversations happen, but rarely.
Yeah, another piece that it's really good for is some of the specials that move. David Eisenberg, who's the PE teacher, you know, talked about, if I can plan 3, 4, 5, and I know I'm at that school 2 days, I'm hitting all the 3, 4, 5, and so I'm not having to carry my jump ropes from, one school to the next school to the next school. I'm doing like activities all in one school, one time frame, and not having to move my supplies back.
And even the focus being,
Music.
if he's doing all first grade together versus he has a first grade class and he has a fifth grade class coming in, that those standards are so different that he has to juggle that. So a lot of the specialists, I'd have to say a lot of the specialists were for this, just for the fact of being able to,
Like bodies at like times.
like bodies, like standards, they can really do more with what they have when they're able to teach all of those students versus, fluctuating in age and development.
And currently, we also share specialists. So we have some specialists here 3 days a week, and then the other 2 days a week, they go over to Millville. And I can tell you, when you take a look at scheduling, it really decreases the flexibility that you have when you can schedule specials. So that would allow us to focus on one building. And I would agree, if you talk to our PE teachers, if you talk to our art teacher, when we schedule, what we try to do is schedule like grade levels. So maybe fifth grade will have art first, second, and third period if we can do that, so that there's a whole setup and a breakdown involved. And so that sometimes impacts what they're able to do with the kids. So I think that would alleviate that problem.
And also when some of the specialists might have a block here and there that's free, and they use that time for response to intervention to work in, collaboratively with the classroom teachers. They're able to pull it off here and there, but if you're all in one building, the teachers, you can actually do a better job of fine-tuning. So for right now, the physical education teacher and the physical therapist work together with kindergarten teachers to work on those gross motor skills and develop that as part of their response to intervention. We could probably offer more of that if all the grade levels were together and we had everyone around working consistently.
Yeah, and you asked, I think you asked how teachers are feeling about this. I would tell you that yes, there are some who, like all of us, we get used to something and change sometimes it can cause some anxiety, but I will tell you this, when it comes down to talking about what is best for kids, they're in agreement. And also professionally, to be able to meet with all of your colleagues and talk about learning and talk about teaching and take a look at the standards and how are we going to teach this. We want to provide, we need to provide common experiences. Students have to master the same standards and skills no matter if you're here or if you're at Blackstone. But it's how we go about teaching and talk about what our successes are, what worked well, what didn't. And while we can have those conversations here, we're missing that conversation with colleagues in Millville. So that really makes a huge impact on teaching and learning, the ability to do that.
So would your roles change?
Two of you.
Remember that year?
I don't know.
Who goes where?
I don't know.
Definitely pieces of it that we have not even talked about, that they'd be unsolved until we had to do it. The reason we did it in this manner is at least 3 times in my adult time, it has been brought to a town meeting to make this change without answers. And it was, the way it was being recommended to be written was children can be moved across town lines at the superintendent's discretion. And that wasn't comfortable with anybody. And you got to a town meeting and you would ask questions and they would say, well, maybe by address or maybe by need or maybe and maybe and maybe. This is definitely the most work that has ever been put into it to come up with at least a vision of what the scenarios could be. There are definitely some parts that we have not touched because it's not necessary until these words are changed in our regional agreement.
But the article clearly states that the kids will stay within the grades, so the
Right.
kindergarten will stay together, first grade will stay together.
This
I
is
think
still
we-
restricting the way kids would be moved.
Right.
But it allows them to cross the town line. And my understanding and my interpretation of the regional agreement from 1982 is that the words were specifically put into the agreement because there were Blackstone residents that did not want to pay for Millville's education. And it was worded specifically so they felt like that wasn't happening. Because our budget has been, since we've been regionalized, our budget is one large budget for the full district. So that part isn't changing. It's already been
So the budget's already,
Already regionalized.
It's already shared.
100%.
One budget for
You pay, each town pays
their portion based on
Their
the number
portion,
of students
right.
they have in the
based on the enrollment.
town.
So it's roughly Blackstone 70%, Millville's 30%, but it's based on population, and so 70% and 30% goes into one bucket, and then it gets distributed. It doesn't matter what school you're at. So there was a little confusion as to if Millville was to come, would we be paid? No, because it's all in the same bucket. It's still the same. It's still the same amount being shared. So.
And there's no intention of closing a school. The schools are, all have brand-new roofs and intended to be schools for the next 20 years. So probably my lifetime, anyway.
But there's not even one building that everybody would fit in.
No.
So it's not even,
Yeah.
it's not a space. If people say, oh, you have so much space, we're going to be able to use more of it.
Right, we'll be able to
By
use it more
dividing them
efficiently.
this way. Any other questions?
Want a tour?
And we're always open, you
is
know,
is the
we're,
annual town meeting for Blackstone really on Memorial Day?
it's the day after. It's the Tuesday, it's
Oh, that's a
always
Tuesday?
Yeah.
the Tuesday
Oh.
after.
All right. Like, that's
You'd be
gonna
down
be
there
a
at the
problem.
carnival anyway, just pop in.
They should hold it there.
We have more
It's
people.
the town meeting? Into a town meeting. I mean, I don't know the date.
Tuesday after.
I'm looking at the calendar.
Would you like a tour?
Yeah.
We can start with John F. Kennedy. It's currently K-12.
Sat down and then she was talking and I glanced and, oh.
Now, interesting enough, there's no demarcation where John F. Kennedy ends and where.
So not even on the
starts.
inside?
It's not even
No,
this line.
it's one big
I was hoping
hallway.
once I was inside I would.
No.
It's not here?
Because, you know,
We have to draw a lot, but we
that's
haven't
really
done
where
that.
it is, actually. That was the old,
Really?
right there, yeah, that's where
If
it
there
cut
is,
off.
that would be
Oh,
it.
that was it?
Yeah, that was it.
So this is the John F. Kennedy cafeteria. It's, let me turn it on. It's bigger.
You don't need to.
I believe the grades that eat lunch in here are K1 and 2.
K1 to here.
So that's current or would be?
Like when we use both.
Would be, would probably be pre-K, pre-K and K.
PKK.
Pre-K, K.
So here you can see the
So, sorry, help me out with pre-K.
pre-K is in Millville. Now, what happens with preschool is by state mandates, any child who needs specialized instruction, special ed services, has to have integrated preschool services. So every public school has that.
Oh.
And then there are role model children who pay a tuition, and they offer, I think, 2-day, 3-day, 4-day programs over there.
Got
And
it.
it's half a day.
Oh.
By lottery, and it's a half a day. So that system would still continue here. I was a principal at Millville up till last year, so I know both buildings, I know the staff, and I can tell you both buildings have some phenomenal staff, so that shouldn't even be a concern because we have some really wonderful, talented people. So this is the John F. Kennedy cafeteria. We'll just cut through onto this side to see a little bit of JFK. So bathrooms, the nice thing is it's right outside the cafeteria.
Perfect.
So staff can just pop right in, check in, the office is right here. So, hi. You guys coming in for the tour? Hi. So, this is the main office.
Just like that is.
I recognize
The
it.
administrative assistant is here.
Sorry.
Any children who are being dismissed, coming in late, they would
Yeah.
check in over here. The staff at my office is further down.
Yep.
So a good amount of space. And then the kindergarten wing starts here.
This is actually, beyond that hallway is a newer, is the, like the AFM, it's the newest part of this building. So there's an attachment, this is the newer.
Newest being when?
Meaning, I don't know what year, but I'm pretty sure this section, this wing was put on when AFM was put on, so.
So probably right here.
Yeah, right there.
What you're seeing. So the kindergarten classrooms each have, you can peek in, I'm not sure if the doors are, oh, there are none. They have 2 bathrooms, each of them, allowing for, where's her, switch, oh, right over there. So the students don't even have to leave their classroom.
Bathrooms in here?
Yes.
Yeah.
They hide them well.
Apparently.
It's on the corner there.
There needs to be, right?
Yeah, well, no, they,
Preschool.
preschool needs them in the same area, not kindergarten, but we're lucky. So there are 2 bathrooms in each of our kindergarten classes. As you can see, the classrooms here are huge. You do not see this.
So how
in
many
public
students would
schools.
be in this room?
About 20. Well, right now.
21 or so? 20 to 21. So they make different sections. That's the math section. Then there's a reading section. And she does a lot more artwork in the back near the sink. So each teacher brings in their own flair, because teaching is a very personal thing.
My son number 1 is in this this class.
Yeah.
Oh, you numbered them, son number 1.
Son number 1. Son number 2 is across the hall.
So there are five classrooms, and there's a 6th classroom as well. And then we have areas for the faculty lounge, staff bathrooms, and then we have little smaller areas for Title I reading and speech pathologists. So that's all in this wing. If you want to see another classroom,
Yeah.
from a different teacher's perspective. Another door that's unlocked.
So the teacher kind of makes it their own.
Yes, they do. And as you can see, different
Yeah.
room, different layout.
Yeah.
Some commonalities you'll notice is every classroom will have their foundations wall. Every classroom will have their morning meeting section. And teachers love to display student work, so you'll notice that as well. The books, there are books everywhere. And then she's got, and that's not even, this classroom you can see that. Their class jobs, those kind of things.
And the children spends the entire day in that one classroom?
Well, no, but we were talking about the specials, art,
Oh,
music,
right.
technology. They do leave the classroom for the specials. And if children receive any Title I services, they leave the class for that. Or any other specialized services, speech pathology, occupational therapy, or even Pilates services, if there are any, they would leave for that as well.
And you'll see if you go to Millville, you see the size. It's a big difference in
The size of
the size of the classrooms.
Yes.
It's small. They're smaller.
Okay.
Smaller.
They also, at least currently, have a lot less students.
Yes.
Yes, but that comes and goes. So like Erin who was talking, her son went through there, he had 29 in class by the time he got to 5th grade.
That's what I was saying.
So if you
like-
get those parents who had 29, they'd be like, this is ridiculous. So you get those parents that at 15, they're gonna say, no, I want to keep it at 15. I mean, that's
Right.
the reality of it.
I was talking to a couple parents, and that's what I brought up. Like, that's the number one thing I hear
Yeah.
from Millville people is, well, why do we want to do that? We have nice ratios of the student to,
Right.
I'm like, but would that change every single, either every year or every couple years?
Except
or?
there, if the population only had 15 in class or 20 in class, they're not changing. So that 1st grade is only going to have one 1st grade of 20. The 2nd grade is going to still have that 20. So
Yeah.
I know for my boys, if they don't get along with another kid, tough luck.
Yeah.
You're going to be with that kid to
Well,
get
it's
to
just
5th
as
grade.
at 15, there's very little working of it though. If the children with personality come to each other, it gets very challenging. There are 2 sections of So from up on this ramp, we have what we call the A wing, which has 12 classrooms with bathrooms, and teacher faculty lounge. And currently it's 1st grade's
Way
on the
bigger than I
right,
thought.
2nd
Yeah.
grade's
On
on
the
the
outside?
left. Yes,
So this is all 1st and 2nd?
1st and 2nd right now.
1st and 2nd. And the bathrooms right in the
And
middle.
the bathrooms in the middle.
Are the
where
classrooms still around the same size?
Oh, they're huge.
They're big. I think all the classrooms
They're all big.
on this side are big. Yep.
So here's a door that they're both open. You can peek in. There's a 1st grade class.
I love the little desks.
That's the first thing I noticed when I came here. And lots of, closet areas. So it's different because it's layout is different because it's first grade, not kindergarten, so we have more groupings. And then across the way, now this is the reading specialist classroom, so lots of books.
So when would a child be in here?
And for the reading, in this district, it's a special, so once a week, they would meet with the reading specialist, the whole class, and then every other week, opposite.
So every child?
Every
would-
child.
Okay.
Yes. So,
So what do you think of this, buddy? You excited coming here? Yeah. Tomorrow? I know, he's with my son. Yeah.
and then there's a gym here. Going to see the gym. Sorry, Mr. Gallagher, we're following you. I'm trying to get the booking fee.
What's in here?
So Dean, speech pathologist and Title I services, and this is our copy machine teacher work area.
Yeah.
And this is the JFK gym.
Yep.
So what they're describing, gym teacher might have first grade, and then they have fifth grade, so they kind of challenge. Did you want to go back? Or?
Yeah, these are pretty much the
The
same.
same classroom up there.
It's the same classroom. That's a newer addition too. Actually, I think
Who's up here now?
There's technology, and then
oh no.
the ELL classroom and two programs. That's all that's up there.
Yeah, because third used to be up
Third
there.
used
but
to be
they
up there, they
moved.
shifted it.
Okay, that's
So this is all John F. Kennedy. So going up there or going on the right, it's the same way.
Okay.
And she, like I said, just a handful of classrooms up there. And that's where the parents drop off their children
Right.
in the morning. And we'll meet Mrs. Brown and she can show you.
Okay.
So the nurses are central for both buildings.
How many nurses?
The two schools, we share space in each building. We have our library, which is used by both Kennedy and Maloney students.
Now, is there actual, library time
Yes,
every week or?
yes. Well,
not
library is
every day?
scheduled every other week.
Every other week?
Right,
Okay.
it's scheduled technology and library. So one week you have technology, the next week you have library. We have, that's our music room. And all students from both sides use that room. We only have one music room.
And again, is that every child has music?
Every
Or
child has music every week.
Is there, what are things that aren't a guarantee for every child? Or is it, everything is?
Everything's guaranteed. Everything's the same. Libraries every other.
Library and tech are every other.
And
so-
art is
and
every
art-
other.
Art and reading is every other. But every child has PE every week.
Yeah.
The only fifth grade students have health instruction. That's the only grade level that receives health. So we can take a left.
Is the building air conditioned? Any other schools? No, none.
No.
That must get
I don't know
fun.
many public schools that are.
Yeah, no, there aren't many. But
Trust me,
It's not too bad.
No.
We typically get a few. This is our art room. So as you can see, Mrs. Sheeran is equipped for multiple grade levels at any given time so that she can quickly put out and then break it down again and be ready for the next class.
This used to be my favorite room when I was here.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
This is our fifth grade hallway. All of our fifth grade classrooms are on the left side of the hall,
And the bathrooms in these wings are on both ends.
both ends.
So like kindergarten wouldn't fit. We had to think about that when we were deciding on a configuration, because you can't send a kindergartner all the way down to the other side of the,
Right, right.
So how does this work?
So what happens is, in classrooms, we have a nut-free policy in the classrooms.
Right.
However, for lunch, they can have food with nut products,
Yep,
and we have a nut-free table.
yep.
So students who have allergies, or students who buy a school lunch can sit at those tables.
Yep.
is that just on the AFM side?
No, Kennedy as well.
Oh, I thought they had the nut table.
So
Like, I
why-
thought if you-
No, it's a nut-free table, and all of the other tables, students bring food from home, so that's how we handle the.
Why do some classrooms have the signs and some don't?
They were just posted, they're all.
But they
They're
might
all-
have, does that mean that there's
They,
probably some students that
There
might have a
may
nut?
be, we had the signs in the hallway, so I'm not quite sure. It looks like it's just a classroom, but we have it all. Because what happens in 5th grade
Yep.
is they switch. So in other words,
Switch what?
you would have one teacher for
Oh.
ELA, and you would have another teacher for science, let's say,
Yep.
or math. So that's why we have the nut-free policy.
So a child has their own desk and they have that same desk
Correct.
all the time?
Yes. However, when you switch, then you would have someone else sitting
Yeah.
at your desk.
Yep.
Teachers really focus on celebrating what we do and work together. It's really, they're all great teams. A lot of fun. This is another gym. I don't know if this is locked.
It's supposed to be.
They might be getting ready to clean it. So we have, again, scheduling, we have 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students here. I think we may have a 2nd grade class that comes over here. Again, it's all about scheduling. If we schedule a kindergarten class and a 2nd grade class that have PE at the same time, then we always have the kindergartners, the smaller kiddos, go over to the Kennedy gym. This is a bigger gym.
Yep.
They still bring gym sneakers, right? They need a second pair of shoes for gym, to
Yeah.
leave at school.
So is that heat or AC for the gym?
That is not AC, it's not
Okay,
air
so
conditioned.
it's
No.
truly, all right.
Yeah. On hot days, you'll probably see a lot of fans set up. It can get warm, it can get warm. It's just an office space. We have some rooms here for small group pull-out for students who need support in reading and math. So now, another small room. So now what we're doing is we're entering the 3rd and 4th grade hallway. And I don't know if this is I shared, but up until last year, 3rd grade was always over on the Kennedy side. So at the end of last year, I made the decision to move 3rd grade over here. I was the principal for both buildings. So this year is the first year that we have 2 principals. So I made the decision to move 3rd grade over. It made a lot of sense because of sharing resources with 4th and 5th grade.
Yep.
So these rooms here on this end of the hallway are 3rd grade classrooms.
Like where a 3rd grader would be where the kindergartners are? Or no, I mean, they spend their entire day here and...
Well, it depends. There are some classrooms that have buddy classrooms. So sometimes they go and visit other grade levels. They'll visit their buddy classroom, but typically, yes, they're here. They're here all day.
And buddy means what?
Oh, they may go and read.
Got it.
Or the students maybe a 3rd grade student will work with a kindergarten student, and they'll have a reading activity. Not every classroom does that, but there are some who do. So now we're in the 4th grade area. You can see that all the classrooms are really the same size and
Yep.
configured the same.
Dr. Seuss still is around, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
Celebrate his birthday.
It was just a
Fun
big birthday, yeah?
things.
Yeah. And every teacher comes up with a different theme every year.
So technology, there's the switches, you said library versus technology,
Yes.
right? And so what is technology
Uh,
at this level?
That's a good question.
Still, that's to work in progress.
It's definitely a work in progress. Depending upon the grade level, for kindergarten students, we're really focused on helping them learn how to sign in and sort of navigate a little bit. Some keyboarding, some games. We even practice math skills. We support reading skills. There's a lot of programs that our technology teachers found online. So students can participate in that once they've finished the class requirements. So the older the kiddos get, they're learning parts of the computer. So, at this point, we were talking about that. We were thinking, eventually, will our kids really need to learn how to use a mouse?
No.
They won't.
We're working.
Even a computer won't be.
Absolutely. So this is where we're at now, and it is a work in progress.
And we're changing the infrastructure because a lot of it, we don't have like airports or, networking. And so that's all part of the budget this year is to,
Oh, good.
use the E-rate to resurface the whole infrastructure for internet because we really don't have what we need right now
Right.
for what's needed in technology. I mean, we have Chromebooks, so a lot of Chromebook
Yeah.
use is starting, but that's a slow process. That's a cart.
That's one card.
That seems to be one of the more popular things throughout schools, right?
Yeah,
The Chromebooks.
and honestly, it's because it's they're. I mean, I have them in my school, and I have one-to-one, and they're indestructible. You cannot destruct them at all. So,
We have an iPad cart,
yep.
and we have a Chromebook cart. The Chromebooks were actually purchased by BPO last year. So we have teachers who sign out the cart. They sign out the iPad cart as well. And then we have 2 computer labs, but really the technology really needs to be happening in the classroom.
Media center.
Yeah, that's our library. That's our library.
Oh, so we just did a big circle.
We did.
Thanks.
We
All
did.
right.
I know.
I'm like, it is huge. But okay, we're finally back to where we were before.
Getting a little confused.